This is Ravenlok, a game you might not have heard of, but a game you should definitely check out. It's sort of an Alice in Wonderland retelling with similar characters, but with a whole new storyline, different gameplay, and puzzles that are actually hard. But our first problem is that we need to decide what our dog is wearing. I picked the red hat to go with the red bandana, and then we enter into the actual first part of the gameplay where we have entered into our new home and our parents are asking us to help out and get everything settled in. We are obviously not super happy about leaving the city and leaving all our friends behind, but we need something to do, so we're gonna do what our dad says and help out around the house. Once we finish, we really want to go into town, look at the shops and whatnot, but Dad obviously doesn't want us to do that and instead gives us a key to the old barn, which I guess is something to do. When we get into the barn, we find this old dusty mirror and, of course, get sucked in. The mirror ends up taking us into this flower, and we end up in this magical stone garden. And of course, this is the first part that reminds you of Alice in Wonderland. But the design of this is very different, and although there are rabbits that we follow around and who have pulled us in to help them out, as the prophecy is foretold, it's a little bit different from Alice in Wonderland. Of course, we're not Alice, we're Ravenlok, and we have to defeat the queen who has been taking over. So of course, first things first, we need a sword. We find this dark sword right in front of the queen's castle. I don't know why she didn't hide this or take it away so that Ravenlok couldn't defeat her, but she didn't. Then of course we go into this little mansion and we find a few more rabbit friends who need our help. But first things first, with a sword, you must have a shield. I will never use the shield in my gameplay, so if you think that you should use the shield, don't look at this video. Then of course one of the rabbits teaches us how to use different skills and to block, which of course I'm never going to do, but also how to fight and how to use special abilities. Next, we meet the hedgehog siblings who will let us into the next world if we bring them fungus. There are a lot of side quests that I don't show in this video because I don't want to spoil the whole thing. Obviously, there are spoilers, but I don't want to spoil exactly every single piece of the puzzle, so if you want to figure it out for yourself, go ahead. Then we enter the Mushroom Forest, which is our first world. I think it's absolutely beautiful. The colors are perfect, in my opinion. And we find this red crystal in the middle, which instead of giving us a crystal, summons the evil queen. I love her design as well. I love that she's more pixelated, more blocky, whereas we are more of a 3D model that's a little bit smoother. I think it's so fun that she's a butterfly and that her wings are her hair. And of course, instead of being nice to us or just filling us in that she's evil, she starts us on our first big battle against these cute little mushroom guys. This is your first real taste of combat, so it's not too hard, but there are quite a few mushrooms and a few rounds of combat you have to do, which you can do easily enough. Then we enter the darker part of the mushroom world, which takes us straight to the witch's house. The witch is another companion that we can be friends with, such as this mouse who will level us up, and the cauldron next door who will give us potions. I need a blessing from the witch so that the other hedgehog sibling will open up her store, but to make this blessing, the witch needs lots of things, and the witch is sort of old, so of course we need to do it ourselves. This little guy is another side quest. I think he's very cute. He reminds me of a Gobu from Final Fantasy, and that's all you need to know. If you want to do his quest, you'll have to try it out for yourself. To get to our next part of our blessing, we have to defeat this evil mushroom by telling him that we actually hate the color green. This is our first true boss battle, and it's fairly easy, but you can still be caught up a little bit on his mushroom poison spray. We get him easily enough though, as I've done this before. I think if I hadn't done this before, I would be bad at it because I'm bad at combat, but I think this game teaches you how to do all the combat fair enough, and you get these cool little death cutscenes. To find more of our blessing problems, we end up into the lake area, which is absolutely gorgeous. All of these different places are so beautiful, and we need to help out these different deer who have mushrooms growing on their antlers. I think the art design for all of these things is beautiful. Once we help out all these deer, the mighty Idris tells us that he can find this bowl that we need to get the extra blessings from, but he's not in a very good mood. There's some sort of misunderstanding between them. And of course, I make him angry as well, and instead of helping me, I have to fight him in order to get the next part of the blessing. Honestly, the death animations are one of my favorite parts of this game. We go back to the witch and we give her everything that we need to finish the blessing spell. But of course, she actually won't be doing the blessing spell, we'll be doing the blessing spell ourselves. Why did we need to do all this for her? I don't know. But now the other hedgehog can open up her store where we can get more potions and a poison ring, which will help us later because it's the only ring of anti-poison in the game. We've finished the mushroom world now, and it's time to go somewhere else. We come back into the mansion and mess with the masked clock, and it takes us into the theater. This is another beautiful world. I love the theater design, that everything is in different rooms, and we run into the soot bunnies, who are really upset because some of the soot bunnies have been taken away to work upstairs in the costume department by Tweedledee and Tweedledum. See where I'm getting the Alice connections here? But the soot bunnies just need a little bit of help, and I should be able to free the soot bunnies and they will help me. I talked to this panda and he actually won't let me into the costume because I'm not cast or crew. So I need to collect a mask to make him believe that I am part of the cast so that he'll let me in and I can free the soot bunnies. I find all these pieces of a mask and the soot bunnies actually end up putting it together for me. First hat, collected. It's not really a hat, but I guess the game considers it a hat because it would be confusing to call it a mask. We talked to the Mr. Hatter, who is actually the costume designer, and he tells us we need to go collect different pieces of cloth and then put them at the bunnies' tables so that Tweedledee and Tweedledum believe their work is finished so they won't have to work up here anymore. Then Tweedledee and Tweedledum get into a fight over who is the better stage manager, and they ask me to decide between them. Of course, I don't know how to decide, and so I pick both of them, and for some reason that makes them really upset. It seems they can see through my little play, and even though they do actually let the soot bunnies go, I don't think they're too happy with me. This begins our first boss fight in the theater against Tweedledee and Tweedledum. This is a beautiful boss arena, but this is one of the hardest boss fights. It took me the longest out of any boss fight. Even the very last boss fight was easier than this one, mainly because there's two of them. It's a little bit complicated because you need to get one dead before you kill the other one because it's a lot of work to keep one alive, but eventually, through enough times, I killed both of them. More like a light killed both of them. Then we move on and find this cute little tea party painting, which must be necessary later. And we find that it actually is necessary because there's a spot for it right in the mansion that we are always going back to. Once I put up the painting and I interact with it, I actually get sucked into a painting. So apparently mirrors and paintings both are used to travel through. I find certain teacups around, and of course we've moved on to another bunny friend who needs our help. He asked me to find some teacups and then he'll be able to help me find some other things that I need to continue through. I kill this really ugly slug thing to be able to find a key to open a chest. This thing is just weird to look at. He's kind of goofy looking. This boss fight is fairly simple. You just simply turn around and smack him from behind because he's a slow turner, because he's a slug. And he dies quick enough, gives me the key, and now I'm able to move on past him. The next place is an extension of the teacup world, and we need to find a way to wake up our sleeping dragon friend in order to get them to help us. When we electrocute them enough, they wake up and tell me that they've been having nightmares and that really they just need to defeat the Hydra in their dreams and they'll be able to help us. And of course, they don't think they can do it alone, so they need my help. This fight is actually really easy, but it looks super cool. I don't know how we end up in the Serpent's Dream to be able to fight the Hydra, but I don't ask too many questions in an Alice in Wonderland retelling because there's not much sense to be made in an Alice in Wonderland dreamscape. We defeat the Hydra easy enough, and the Serpent will be able to help us. Its death scene is longer than most. That's why I've paused here, just so you can see how long it takes this stupid Hydra to die. This takes us to another beautiful part of the game where we need to destroy this little rock thing and receive our very first heart. The first heart is the Hydra heart, and it's red. It's very beautiful and fun to look at. Oh, by the way, I got a witch hat. I can't remember when I said that. No more mask. Then we end up in this next beautiful part. I'm going to keep saying each section and world is beautiful because they really are. We end up in the lake talking to the crane. She wants me to awaken the spring goddess because she's been sleeping for a long time, and I need to figure out a way to awake her so that they can all help me defeat the evil queen. I know I said I wouldn't talk about side quests, but there's this little frog quiz you get to do in the game, and it's just hilarious to me that these frogs just want me to do a quiz. Next, I have to defeat this crab that reminds me of the crab from Moana. It goes down pretty easy enough. And then this bird says that they'll give me their egg in thanks for killing the crab. I don't know why a bird would give me their egg, but because it's a ruby egg, I'm assuming it's fine. Then I do this runestone puzzle to open the temple, to hopefully find the flower that will wake the sleeping goddess. Again, I'm not going to tell you how to do the puzzle. If you play the game, you should figure it out yourself. I think that's the fun part. I find this red flower, and I'm able to take it back to the sleeping goddess to wake her up. This animation is absolutely beautiful, and it also weirdly reminds me of Moana. She wakes up and says that she can help me at least a little bit because she can return the labyrinth back into what it used to be, even though it's a little bit broken down right now. The crane says thank you so much for waking the sleeping goddess, and she'll give me a crane feather in return. And although you might not realize it, we need this for a very important thing. To open this guy. I don't know exactly what he is, but he does talk to me, so I'm assuming he's a real person or thing. And I'm able to enter in to defeat this evil sorceress who has been the trouble of this labyrinth. These are all souls that she has captured. She probably has the scariest enemy design, and I tell her that I just want to go through because I need to get to the greenhouse, because there's a person in there who can help me, and she says she'll take my soul for it. So of course, we have to fight her instead. This fight was pretty simple, but I did have to do it a few times because I ran out of health potions. And of course, once she's dead, she gets sucked into another dimension or something. Not really clear on what happened there, but the souls are set free, which is wonderful. Not really what we were trying to do, but it is good that we're helping out other people. And we end up in the next part of the labyrinth that will lead us straight to the greenhouse. But first, we need to take a detour elsewhere. This is a recording of me realizing that I did not record the fights in the clock tower, and I totally forgot, and this is me at the very end realizing that I had forgotten. You fight two mechanical animals, which are pretty simple fights, but they can be tricky if you don't know their movesets. And once I make it to the top, I'm able to set the clock tower alive again, and it makes all the people who work in the clock tower very happy because now people will actually come visit the clock tower. I can't believe I didn't record it, but, it leaves something to be desired for when you play the game yourself. And I get my second heart, the blue heart, which I believe is a crane or bird heart, which goes right along with our crane friend from before. I go back to the mansion to try and get to the greenhouse, and it appears the evil queen has caught on to our plans and has captured all my bunny friends. She says that if I don't stop, she will kill all my bunny friends, and I will be stuck here forever with no way to get home. By the way, I have a new hat now. I have bunny ears as well. Consider me a bunny from this point forward. My other bunny friend says that they won't help me because they're afraid for their friends, so I have to do it alone. I put together that shattered mirror, and I've made it to the greenhouse. And I have to fight these red things. I'm unclear as to what the enemies in this section are, but they're pretty cool. I make it inside the greenhouse, and this is where the poison ring comes in handy because these evil plants seem to be sort of taking over the front of the greenhouse. I create a bomb, and I explode this evil plant to be able to get to Ernest the botanist so that he can help me. Once inside, he tells me that he's trying to currently revive his wife, and that he won't help me unless I help him. Of course, I don't necessarily agree with reviving your wife. I have seen and read Frankenstein, but I help him anyways, and of course, she turns out to be evil. This is a pretty simple boss fight, but it is an interesting one because of her different moveset from other bosses. Ernest seems to be running away. It's unclear if he's actually running away at this point or if he's telling me to follow him, but I follow him nonetheless. I make it to the next section, and I get a new hat, which is the flower crown. This is when I finally remembered to share that I got a new hat. Then I get the third and final heart, which is a green praying mantis heart for Ernest the botanist. Finally, we can make our way into the Queen's castle. We put in all the different hearts that we have collected, and the gate will open to us. Once inside, we need to defeat the cardboard card warriors. At least I believe they're cardboard. They could be made of wood. And we have to defeat the giant mech version as well to enter into the prison. Once inside, we can see that all our friends from all the different worlds have been captured, not just the bunnies. And as we're inside, we need to defeat more cards to be able to get all the different suits. The art style of these cards is just beautiful. Just look at them. But once we get all 4 cards and all 4 suits, we are able to open the final door and come face to face with the evil queen. That she'll let my friends go if I leave and don't defeat her, if I just leave her alone to be queen forever, but obviously I don't believe her. Why in the world would she be trusted now when all she's done is set evil against evil after me? So of course I say no. It makes her extremely angry that I don't do as she says, and of course it means it's time for a boss battle. This boss battle is very interesting because she does not really attack you on the ground as a physical attack. She uses her scythe occasionally, but she mainly uses magic attacks. We are able to defeat her fairly easily, however. That's not the end. Of course she has a second phase. This version of her reminds me very much of the Red Queen from Alice in Wonderland, and I also think it's interesting that she goes from a butterfly to a caterpillar, almost as if she's reverting back into something worse, something more evil. Although you can defeat her easily enough once again. And our last hat that we get in this game is the crown. And of course, once we defeat her, all our friends are set free. They are absolutely adorable, and it's so fun to see them all in one place. Rabbit says that he has an idea, and it's time to join a tea party. But first, we have to wear our last crown. The tea party is so much fun. You get to chat with every single one of your companions that you've met along the way, and it is just a lovely culmination of everything that you've done in the game so far. I just want to say again how wonderful this art style is, the mismatch of smooth 3D models with the clunky sort of Lego block style of the other characters. It is so much fun to look at and play in this world. I think it is such a fun game, and I really think you should check it out. Not just because it's an Alice in Wonderland similar type story, because that is obviously my favorite, but because it is just a cute little fun game. The combat is really engaging, and the puzzles are fun as well. There's something about this game for everyone. It's not too long, but not too short, so you feel like you've definitely got your money's worth with this one. And the music in this game is wonderful as well. I really only have good things to say about this game, and I hope that they make more Ravenlok games in the future because I would totally play them. I haven't heard much about this game. It did come out a while ago, so it's not fresh in everyone's minds, but I would consider checking this out. Pretty much for everyone. Of course, if you think this game isn't for you, then by all means, don't play, but I really think there's something in this game for everyone, so I would hope that you check it out. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye!